I still remember the day as if it were etched in the air itself, a day that felt like it existed in a different dimension. I was wandering through a small, forgotten village on the outskirts of the mountains, where silence speaks. That's when I met him, a monk whose presence felt heavier than words, lighter than a breeze, yet somehow both. He didn't announce himself. He simply existed, standing barefoot on the stone path, as if the world bent around him. I had come in search of strength, but I didn't realize I was looking in the wrong places. I thought strength was measured by muscle. As I approached him, I had the sense that everything I knew about strength was about to shatter. I asked him the simplest question, though it carried all my doubt. What is real strength? He looked at me, not with judgment, but with calm curiosity, like watching a leaf fall. His eyes were quiet, unnerving. I expected a sermon, a list of rules, a formula I could follow. Instead, he reached for a small stone from the path, holding it as if it were the most sacred thing. "Do you see this stone?" he asked. "Hold it tightly." I clenched it. Imagine carrying it every day. Day after day, through rain, wind, sun, fatigue, and pain. Never putting it down, even when unbearable. That is not strength, that is endurance. True strength is in knowing when to put the stone down. At first, his words seemed simple, almost naive. Of course, strength is more than brute endurance, but he seemed to suggest that strength is not measured by how much you can carry, but by the wisdom to let go. How often do we, in our own lives, hoard burdens that are not ours to carry? How often do we confuse survival with real strength? He gestured for me to follow him to a nearby river. The water was clear, reflecting the sky in fragmented shards of light. "Observe the river," he said, his voice barely louder than the whisper of the water. "It moves effortlessly, yet it is unyielding. It carves mountains, shapes valleys, nurtures life, yet it resists nothing. It accepts every obstacle, flowing around it. That is strength. To move with the world without forcing it, to act without clinging, to persist without breaking the flow. You see, strength is not the stubbornness of stone, it is the adaptability of water." I wanted to argue, to inject my rational mind into the scene and make sense of it. We are taught that strength is visible. And yet here was a man who carried no weapons, wore no armor, yet radiated a force I could feel pressing against my chest. I realized then that strength is often silent, subtle, unseen. It does not announce itself in victories or accolades. We walked along the riverbank in silence, and the monk seemed to read my thoughts. "You seek strength," he said, "but you do not yet understand what it costs, nor what it gives. Strength is the willingness to face the deepest parts of yourself. It is not a badge worn on the chest. It is the backbone of your spirit, forged in the fire of honest self-examination." I nodded, trying to absorb his words, though my mind still clung to the idea of heroic feats and epic battles. He stopped suddenly and picked up a small twig from the ground. He snapped it effortlessly, the crack echoing. "See this?" he asked. It broke easily because it was brittle, rigid, unyielding. But give the same twig time to bend. Strength is flexibility. Strength is the understanding that to resist everything is to break, to bend is to survive. And to surrender is sometimes the ultimate victory. I looked at him, astonished. The simplicity of his demonstration belied the depth of its truth. I thought of all the times I had fought life as if it were an enemy, all the burdens I had hoarded. Every disappointment, every failure, every moment of stress suddenly seemed like a stone I had been clutching too tightly. The monk's words were not just philosophy. They were a mirror held up to my own life, reflecting my misjudgments. We sat by the river for hours or perhaps minutes. Time itself felt irrelevant. He spoke of silence, of patience. "Strength," he said, "is in understanding your limits and transcending them without annihilating yourself. It is in listening, not shouting. In presence, not pretense. In restraint, not domination. The world teaches you to wield power externally, to impose will upon others and circumstances. The universe teaches you to wield power internally, to master yourself." Then came a question that stopped me cold. "Are you strong enough to face yourself?" I realized that I had spent my life seeking strength as if it were something to show, to prove, to use against the world, when in fact the most profound strength is invisible, intimate, and internal. It is the courage to confront fear, the patience to observe one's thoughts without being consumed, the grace to endure suffering without becoming bitter. As the sun dipped behind the mountains, painting the sky in streaks of orange and purple. He led me to a small wooden bridge. "Look at this bridge," he said. "It bears weight, does it not? People walk across it every day, carrying burdens, and yet it does not complain, it does not struggle. It simply exists to support, to endure, and to allow passage. Strength is not in resistance, it is in the capacity to uphold, to carry, to be present without collapsing. To be strong is to be useful, not feared. To be steady, not dominating. To be a refuge, not a weapon." I felt a shift inside me, subtle yet undeniable, like the first notes of music that resonate before you understand the melody. I began to see that my understanding of strength had been flawed, superficial, self-serving. I had measured it in visible terms. How much I could achieve, how much I could endure, how much I could control. Yet all of it was empty if it lacked wisdom, humility, and compassion. True strength nurtures, protects, and elevates. It does not destroy, oppress, or boast. He paused, allowing the moment to settle, then asked the most unexpected question. "Are you strong enough to let go of being strong?" It took me aback. How can you let go of something you believe defines you? Yet in that pause, I felt the truth of it. To be strong sometimes is to relinquish the very idea of strength. To stop proving, stop fighting, stop carrying unnecessary weight. To let go is not weakness, it is mastery. It is the realization that life is not conquered through force, but navigated through understanding, presence, and balance. We watched as the stream carried fallen leaves downstream. "Strength," he said softly, "is in moving with the current, not against it. It is in yielding without surrendering, in bending without breaking, in holding without clinging. Everything else is illusion." I remember leaving that village at dusk, the sky bleeding into darkness, the mountains casting long shadows over the earth. The monk had vanished, as if he had never been there, leaving behind only the echo of his presence and the gravity of his lesson. Yet inside me, something had shifted irrevocably. I no longer felt the compulsion to prove myself, to hoard burdens, to equate struggle with valor. I had glimpsed a form of strength that is patient, quiet, and eternal. Strength that doesn't announce itself, yet changes everything it touches. Strength that is a river, a bridge, a stone released at the right moment. Since that day, I have carried his teachings with me, not as a set of rules, but as a living practice. Every challenge now feels different. Obstacles are no longer opponents to conquer, but teachers to understand. Fear is no longer a foe to resist, but a companion to acknowledge. Anger, frustration, doubt, all are signals, not enemies. Strength is not what I do to the world. It is how I exist within it, and how I allow myself to flow, bend, and endure with wisdom and grace. I want you to consider this for a moment. Are you carrying stones that were never yours to hold? Are you trying to prove strength in ways that exhaust you, alienate you, and blind you to life's subtler currents? Imagine what it would feel like to release even one burden, to bend like the twig instead of snapping, to move like the river instead of forcing your way. This is not weakness, it is the ultimate mastery of your inner world. This is what the monk showed me, what real strength looks like. Not in how much you can bear, but in how gracefully, wisely, and compassionately you navigate the currents of existence. Remember, strength is patient. Strength is present. Strength does not shout, does not demand, and does not destroy. It supports, it flows, it adapts, it endures. It is the quiet backbone of your spirit, forged in self-awareness and tempered with kindness. Strength is letting go when necessary, holding firm when essential, and moving with the rhythm of life rather than against it. It is the bridge, the river, the twig, the stone released at the perfect moment. If you take one thing from this, let it be this. The strongest people you know may be the ones you never noticed. The ones who face their fears silently, who endure pain without complaint, who help others without recognition, who bend without breaking, who release without regret. Strength is not a trophy. It is a way of being, and every day you have the choice to embody it. Not by struggling harder, but by understanding, observing, and acting with wisdom. So I ask you, are you willing to see strength differently? Are you ready to let go of your misconceptions, your pride, your unnecessary burdens? Are you ready to bend, to flow, to endure with grace? Because the moment you do, you will realize that strength has never been about how hard you fight, but about how deeply you live. If this resonates with you, if you feel even a spark of understanding, I encourage you to share it. Comment below with what real strength means to you. Reflect, converse, and let this idea grow. And if you found value here, if this shifted something in your perception even slightly, hit that like button, subscribe, and join the Echoes of Greatness family, where we explore the deeper currents of life, philosophy, and self-transformation. Let's continue this journey together, seeking wisdom, embracing growth, and discovering the silent, enduring strength that lives within us all.